The Assembly is closing down our proposal for the budget. The revenues that we are projecting are a little bit higher than what Finance projected, $144.8 billion. We also are setting aside higher reserves than what Finance and the Governor set aside, $17.1 billion. Some of the major expenditures that are slightly different than the Senate, as well as with the Governor's office, is we appropriated $1 billion worth of money for health care. We believe that we are so close to universal health care. We're about 92% insured. We set aside money for that. Part of those resources were also to decrease costs. We've heard over and over again from middle-class families, constituents up and down the state, that costs and premiums are too high. So even though insurance is there, insurance is available, it's too expensive. And so that was one of the expenditures we made. Homelessness and housing are a crisis up and down California. We now have over 100,000 homeless people. We're the 5th largest economy, yet one in 5 people still live in poverty. So the Assembly has decided to appropriate $1.5 billion toward emergency homelessness solutions. So that could be rapid rehousing, rental assistance, navigation centers, shelters, a variety of sources. On top of that, there's another $100 million from proposals that were already in the May revise. We also decided to appropriate more money to our institutions of higher education. Higher education is one of the reasons we have the 5th largest economy here in California. We appropriated $117 million to the University of California, 2,500, and we part of that appropriation was so that we could ask for a greater enrollment of 2,500 students, not next year, but in the future fiscal year. We also appropriated $226 million to the California State University. Early childhood education is something that is extraordinarily important as well. So between federal funds, Prop 98, and our general fund appropriations, we appropriated $920 million for early childhood education, for daycare slots, preschool, some facilities improvements, because that's what we heard of some of the major issues for public schools, why they don't have preschool or all-day kindergarten. It's because they don't have the facilities or the needed facilities. Last year, we did a historic expansion of the earned income tax credit. We followed suit with the governor to appropriate $60 million to decrease the age-eligible limit of people who can qualify for the earned income tax credit. We feel like that's one of the best programs out there to fight poverty. And then lastly, we have a major census count coming up in the next couple of years.
10 years ago, California was facing deficit after deficit. In the decades that have followed, because of decisions made by voters and also responsible decisions made by Democrats, both in the governor's office and in the legislature, we are on much stronger financial ground. By making important investments and building our savings, the Assembly's budget plan keeps that sensible streak going. The Assembly Democratic budget moves us forward into the future, and it is mindful of the lessons of the past. That's the combination that we need in 2018.
I wouldn't recommend to anybody in this room not to have a savings account. It's fiscally irresponsible. We would never encourage any constituent to not save money. For government over the years to not save money has been fiscally irresponsible. And we've seen it. So what happens in a downturn? Well, devastating cuts. That preschool classrooms got closed, teachers got laid off, potholes weren't filled, people starved because they lost money in terms of CalFresh or CalWorks or different programs. So for us, what we are doing is being completely fiscally responsible. People always say government should run more like a business. You would never tell a business, don't save money.